Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of Real Talk with Just for Girlfriends. As you know, you have Robin Mcfarland, myself, Angelique David, and Michelle Skinner, who will be joining us briefly. Today, we are going to take a deep dive into double standards. Some of you may not even realize you have them, but our goal today is that we can talk about them, work through them so that we can stop perpetuating them. But first, let me introduce myself, and then I'll turn it over to Robin, and I'm thinking that Michelle would have gotten on. But again, this is just for girlfriends and it's real talk. So sometimes life happens and life happens. So Michelle will jump right in and be our fabulous co-host as she normally is. So my name is Angelique David. I am the founder and CEO of Just for Girlfriends. Just for Girlfriends was created on the premise that women are always so busy doing everything for everybody that we don't take time out for ourselves. So what Just for Girlfriends has done is we've created a company that is dedicated to creating this unique and invaluable experiences for women to come together and embrace self-care. In addition to the experiences that we offer our members, we also have a powerful sisterhood of over 120 women across the country. We have engaging conversations. We do this real talk. We have social outings. We have educational outings. So it really is a full platform and suite of offerings for our members to embrace self-care throughout different facets of their life. So with that, I want to, if you see, how to join Just for Girlfriends, because people have asked us that in the chat. It's easy. There's no application process. There's nothing. You go to, and you see it on the bottom of your screen right now, www.justforgirlfriends.com. Click Join Now. You pay your annual membership fee, and voila, you're a member. We will get you connected immediately. Also, please follow us on all of our social media sites. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, pretty much all of them. And we have those running across the screen. So hope that you decide to join us at Just for Girlfriends. With that, Robin, let me turn it over to you for introduction.
Sure. I am Robin Mcfarland. I am a member, proud first member of Just for Girlfriends, also a board member. So I am, and to add on to all of that, I am a mother, I have a career, I am a wife, all those wonderful things that women are, a superwoman, I like to call myself, just like I call all the rest of the women out there. So that is me, and I'm glad to be here today to talk about double standards, and interested to hear what other folks think too.
All right. Throughout the show, please use the chat feature to comment. We actually did a survey. So we launched a survey to get input from all of you on double standards and what they mean from you. So throughout our show today, Robin will be talking about the results of that survey. All right. So let's get right into it. So we have made progress in shattering the glass ceiling and empowering women. We have our first women VP of the United States, after all, but we definitely still have a long way to go. So we're going to discuss 10 ways that women are unfairly shamed, discriminated against just for being women. So a lot of the things that we'll talk about, we have 10 of them. You'll know them. And what?
No, nothing.
So a lot of what we present today, you will know them. Everything from sexuality to expectations that the world places on women that they don't place on men. And then as we're going through this discussion, I think there's an underlying double standard for Black women, for Black and brown women. So we can dig into that one. All right. Are you ready? Here we go. Double standard number 1. Women who have had more sexual partners are stigmatized, but men are rewarded. So if you saw that picture, you saw where the man was considered hot, strong, a player, a ladies' man, a stud. But if a woman has more sexual partners, they usually are considered a slut, a hoe, loose, sleazy, etc. Robin, what do you think about that?
You know, as I wrote some notes down here, because I was like, man, I hadn't seen it that way. First of all, I hadn't seen the image, and I thought the image was pretty good, a good way to kind of show the point or show the double standard. But the first thing I thought was, we just got a long history, right? Like, I think that was the image that was out there, and a phrase came to mind as well. And this kind of goes with just women sleeping around or men sleeping around. And it's an old phrase that says, talking about kids, and it says, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Have you guys ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. And so it was about, and it automatically just said it was okay for men to kind of be out there doing whatever they want to do. Hey, Michelle, doing whatever they want to do. And a woman just for doing the same thing, something similar, and in many cases, probably less, but because maybe she had one or two boyfriends, she was automatically a floozy or a home wrecker or a loose or hot. I used to hear that growing up. You're being so hot and you're being so fast, right? That was it. And so
fast tail down.
Yes, sit your fast tail down. While the guys could be doing whatever they're doing, and they knew that they were doing it with some women. It just didn't want it to be you. So I think it's such embedded into what people see as what is right and what is wrong. Men do that. Women aren't supposed to do it. And right, women can do whatever they want to do. It's their body. It's their time. They make their own money. They work. They do whatever they want to do. And the labels can be on both sides if that is one of the things. So I thought the image was really great. But I just think the culture is so deeply embedded that women are supposed to be martyrs, for the lack of a better word. And men can just kind of do whatever they want to do. And it's okay because that's the way it's been. And that's the way it's been for a very long time. And so we haven't quite come to, I see the younger generation are embracing it more, but we haven't quite come to, well, women can do whatever they want to do. You can put whatever label you want on either one of them. Women can do whatever they want to do. It doesn't make them right or wrong. The men do whatever, it doesn't make them right or wrong, whatever your standards are. But you should not be shaming the women more than you are the men. It's not right. It's not the right thing to do. The standard is not different. That is my thought. And I thought the image was just great. I really did.
And we have Michelle Skinner, our lovely Michelle, joining us. Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Apologize for being a little late today, but I have been a member of Just for Girlfriends for over 3 years now and have served on the board of directors for at least the last 2. I also manage the social media accounts. So I encourage you to go find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can see our handles rolling across the bottom of the screen there. We have very interesting content. If you like Real Talk with Just for Girlfriends, you'll really love us on social media. And I'm happy to be with you here today because double standards, they just burn me up. So I'm glad we are talking about them.
I know they burn you up, Michelle.
They just burn me up, I'm telling you. But I'm hoping that by having this conversation, making people more aware of how double standards are harmful for both sexes, actually. And as you become more aware of them, let's just stop perpetuating them. I mean, we're going to have the first woman president of the United States, likely, coming up. So it doesn't make sense to hold women to a different standard. It just doesn't. It's played way out. So yeah, let's get into it.
Played out. Yeah.
We were just talking about the first double standard of women's sexuality. One thing I would add, Robin, is, in my opinion, you definitely shouldn't single out one or the other, but both should be, really protecting themselves. And I'm not sure that it's great for either men or women to be out there sleeping around and doing whatever they want. So it's not that one is, the man is a stud for doing it. We should be calling him whatever we're going to call him too.
That is exactly right.
I know a few of them that need some names, right?
That's right.
We should be thinking about that. So it's not just that the woman who does it is bad. It's, I would say,
anybody.
Right.
That's right.
I agree. And if you do want, your man to be more experienced, who is he going to get the experience with? I mean, come on,
I never understood. They were like, he's sleeping around. But I was like, he's sleeping around with the women. They're like, what? What do you mean? What's the he finding them? He's seeking them. Yeah, it is. It is interesting. Yeah, yeah.
That is right. Yeah, and then another thing that kills me too, and what I hear is that when a man chooses to settle down with a woman, and after a few years saying, "Oh, she's boring," or "She didn't know what she's doing," but that's what you want us to be. You want us to be chaste.
At least what they thought. That's what they thought. And that's what I was saying before. Just the culture, the ideal was that they sat at home and I guess was boring. But then once we got married, then I guess maybe the freak flag was supposed to fly in, right? But it was.
But how, right?
Or I mean, at least being introduced and again, I'm not a proponent of everybody being loose either. There's a standard, but you can't label one over the other. Wrong is wrong, whoever did it. Right is right, whoever did it, right?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Are we ready for the next image? You guys
I think so.
Okay, let's pick this next image up. Okay, I don't know if you know this young lady or not. Her name is Lori Harvey. She is 24 years old, rich and beautiful. And I tell you, when she dates somebody, it blows the internet up. And her latest man is Michael B. Jordan. I mean, how's she gonna turn him down? But still, it's a big deal. I don't even know what she does for a living. All I know is every boyfriend she's had, I know about it, and it is a big deal. But those men aren't married that she's dating. They've had several girlfriends. You never hear, the internet just blowing up when they have a new woman, but when she does, they call her all kinds of names. So, and I mean, I don't get it. I don't think it's fair, but so I'm hoping the next time, if she and Michael B. Jordan don't get married and she dates somebody else,
so she gets somebody.
But you say, Robert?
No, I was like, yeah, she's gonna get somebody else, right?
Right, and when she does, please scroll by. I mean, that is not newsworthy,
That's right. And I think social media has exacerbated all of the dating. Like she's just dating, but when you are, because I believe she's probably some form of influencer is probably what I would put her under the bucket of. She does have some really cute jogging clothes at Nordstrom, so I do.
Okay. I had no idea what she did for a living. So
yeah. So she, but I think social media just opens it up for everybody's opinion, right? She's dating. I also think, because Angelique was talking about Black and brown women, we did not grow up saying go date. That was not a message that I heard in my household. It's something I'm talking about now as I have kids, but before it wasn't go date, go be around, go date other people. And also dating doesn't mean that she's sleeping with everybody, doing all kinds of stuff. It just seems like to me she's dating, but it happens to be social media. She's popular. She's somebody's daughter, right? Like all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that she's a hoe, which is what I hear often, or that she's right, like she's sleeping with the older man. I just think, and to me, it looks like she's a young woman dating, right?
Right.
But they are
next to a man. They'd be like, "Look at her. She
right. That is right. But it looks like she's dating to me, and
it looks like she's having fun. It looks like she's having fun. Her life. It looks like
she's probably dating people a lot of Yeah, and people need to check themselves when they're talking about these young women. Also, she's 23, 24. They're young women. They're dating. That's what, young people were in their 20s dating. And if you didn't, sorry, right? That's not what you're doing, right? But I think she's just dating. And I don't know why people get so up in a roar about it.
Robin, you bring up a point that I think, especially when you talk about the Black households, that's the only household I know, that the Black girls go through, is that when you're growing up, you're told, don't have sex, don't date too many people, don't date, you don't look at boys, don't look at boys. And then you get to a certain age and they be like, why are you not married? I mean, when I'm gonna have some grandkids? And it's like, when did suddenly it was don't have sex, don't date, don't look at boys are bad, to all of a sudden, when I'm gonna have some grandkids? And I think we need to change that. We need to, because you don't you don't want to just jump into a marriage with the first person you ever dated. You want to learn how to date and learn how to grow and learn how to do those things. And then you know what you want. So to me, when I look at her, she's doing what she's supposed to do. She's figuring it out. She's testing out the material. She's figuring out what she wants. Not that, because I've always been really interested in that whole phenomenon where it's don't do this, don't do this. When you get married, why are you 26 and you don't have a boyfriend? Why
I never went on a date? You told me I couldn't go on no dates. You scared me. You scared me, right?
So
I didn't go on a date, right? But dating is normal. And also, I think the other aspect of it is there is her money is coming from being on the internet, right? So there's that other component of it. Y'all might be feeding right into her pockets, which is also okay, because she seems to be okay with it, quite honestly, right? If I'm from the outside looking in, she seems to be all right. She's like, oh yeah, it's all right.
I don't know. You have hundreds of thousands of people just talking bad about you. It's hard to be all right, especially when you're that young. But you know,
yeah. It's just that social media is such a different thing, right? Like now we're seeing before you can't even hide. At this point, she can't even hide a boyfriend, right? Like they're like, we saw him on the plane, getting off the plane in the middle of the night, right? Like you just can't even have a normal relationship because now you're out there. Now you're out there.
Teresa in the audience makes a good point. She says, unfortunately, women tear each other down. And I do think that is true and very, very unfortunate, because as women, we were supposed to hold each other up, embrace each other. Like they always say, if you see somebody's crown, don't talk about them, go fix that crown, help them stand that up. That's what I love about Just for Girlfriends is we don't tear each other down. We lift each other up in all respects. But it is unfortunate, Teresa, that happens.
Yeah.
Someone just joined. They didn't know who the young lady was. That's good. That means you're not on social media.
You're not worried about that. That's
right. It's a young lady. Her name is Harvey, who has been tied to several famous people over the last several years. And people are just get up in an uproar when she dates another man. And the point we were trying to make is that these men that she dates have dated around as well. And you never hear anything negatively said about them. So we want to encourage you to let go of that double standard, or at least loosen it,
And then I forgot to say the percentages here from our survey. I'm sorry about that. So 6% of the people responded to our survey saying that it's acceptable for women to have multiple partners. I will say our survey was mostly female. 30% disagreed about strongly disagreed, and 60% were neutral. So it's still, right, like it's still a little lopsided there.
It is. Yeah, even amongst the women. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, before I know we're going to go to our next one, but before we leave this topic, I'm going to tell you, although I'm happily married and I don't plan to not be married, that if I get single, I'm a date. I'm just letting y'all know. Every show I'm going to talk about a new date.
Well, because I'm going to be checking everybody out, making sure it's okay. That's going to be my job. Right? He can come, he can't come. Like, I don't do my job. Right? Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. The world wants me to stay happily married. I'm gonna let you know that.
Right. So you gonna be dating around too?
I'll be like, talk about me, baby. Whatever. Yeah. Absolutely. So,
someone said, really? I've dated 3 men at one time. What's the problem?
Now that is
I think that's what we're asking you, Nisa.
I know there is no problem with it. Right.
No
problem. Serious with someone.
Well, and I think there's a stigmatism on dating. Dating is very different than just sleeping around and running through, right? That is very different. And that was we didn't grow up talking about that. That was not a standing topic in my household. It's all right to be going on dinners. It's different, right? So I think there's a difference there too.
Right. Oh yeah, it was a no. I think we have one more picture to just drive this point home before we go on.
Oh, okay.
Because our double standards they bleed out into a lot of different areas. So can we put up the next photo? So who here has heard the song WAP? WAP. Oh my God, female rappers Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion did WAP. They just performed at the Grammys. Oh my gosh, this song has made such a stir, and I'm like, did they hear Too Short back in the day? Come on now, like
they were,
yeah.
and I half the time I don't know what they're saying, but I am I I do know about WAP.
Right. I mean, and it has been talked about on the conservative radio shows. I've never heard them talk about any of the male rappers' songs and their lyrics, but people were all in an uproar, about this song and how it was just going to just tear down the whole American society, the structure that we know today. This one song was,
and that was pretty deep.
Just destroy it. Yeah. They really went hard on Miss Cardi for this song. And I'm not saying that that the lyrics are totally appropriate. I'm not even casting judgment on the lyrics. I'm just saying it's a double standard because men sing about some pretty raunchy things too, all the time. Rappers, come on now, almost every song. You breaking it down, you're like, ooh, what they say? Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of songs that we grew up on that were very raunchy.
Right.
And they weren't rappers, right? It was love songs. It was smooth jazz. It was considered smooth music, love making music, right? Like all of that. And it was highly, when you look at the lyrics, they were highly inappropriate.
Right.
But you did not hear about it then, and you don't hear about it now until recently. I've heard a little bit more uproar about some things and switching lyrics, but nothing like the backlash on the WAP.
Nothing.
And it's because they were women. It's because they were women.
It's because they were women, and I just don't think that is fair. You know what I mean? Either we're on the ride the music or we're not. Now, I mean, it's probably no surprise, I am a Cardi B fan. I'm old enough to be a grandmother, probably. That's a whole nother different show. But I'm just saying, leave my potential grandbaby alone. Let her sing what she wants.
Let her sing what she wants to sing.
Let her sing what she wants to
sing. For real. Okay, I want to move into our second double standard. And if you could put up that picture, please. Now, this is President Kennedy. He is signing into law the Equal Pay Act. This was in 1963. Okay, it's 2021. And in the US, women still are not paid the same wages as men for doing the same job.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long we gotta fight about this. I don't even understand why. I mean,
this one burns me up because this is, a big issue in corporate America. And a lot, you were going to say, Michelle, why is this? How does this happen? So you tend to see this when women come in. Women are not as strong advocates for themselves. They don't negotiate. I can tell you, I oversee an HR group. When men come in, they negotiate everything, every single dollar. They do not leave a dollar on the table, and they negotiate it pretty heavily. And they frankly expect it. And the men give it to them. Women will come in and they won't negotiate. They won't. I can tell you, if you're coming into a role, the salary that they offer you, ask for more. Just automatically assume that they have more room to give you. So ask for more. So I think that women have to start now. Do I think it's fair that they're starting from different points, that, you have to go out and do all of that negotiating? No, but make sure that we're negotiating, that we are asking for more, that we are really requiring what we are valued at. Because this pay gap it seems to be, and unfortunately the COVID situation has made it broaden. So you hear a lot of research happening that women are falling out of the workplace. Women are losing years of skills and everything coming out of the workplace because of COVID. So we've got to start equaling that back out. I mean, I think we now got some work to do.
Yeah. It's crazy. I actually worked for a company that was working on the pay gap. And they actually came to me and said, hey, this is what we're working on. It was an initiative. It was equal pay, women versus men. And they were doing a large project on it. And they say, hey, Robin, you are making less than your male counterparts. And we are going to work over the next 2 to 3 years to get you where we need to be. And I was like, what? And I knew it was happening, right? I knew it was happening. Everybody talks about their salary. I also knew how much work I was doing and how much I was valued at the company from the perspective of my skill. And so I was glad they said it. but I've also been other places where they have not said a word and I've also know the same thing, right? So it is, it's one of those things that has become so common that people don't think about it unless you do like Angela said, unless you bring it up and say, look, and have to be able to stand on that. I also think we get scared. We get scared. We're usually not in power. We're usually not in authority. We usually are support staff. And so they have some authority over us in the workplace. And so it's not easy to do, but it does. Once you start doing it, I will tell you, you get empowered to do it a little bit more every time to get to where you need to be, because it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous.
And we're talking
making as much money. Yeah.
Right. And we're talking the same job. It's not that they are doing anything that is more skilled. Let me read you a statistic that I found. And this is according to the U.S. Census Bureau. A woman working full-time year-round makes 82.3 cents for every $1 a man makes. This is in 2019. Now, again, it went into law in 1963. In 2019, we still have a gap of nearly 20 cents. And this is for doing the same work. And also, the Institute of Women's Policy Research estimates that we will not have equal pay until the year 2059. 2059. I don't know why you just can't go out tomorrow and say, this job pays this much regardless of who's doing it. I don't understand it. Like 2059, ladies.
2000. So I will not be in the workplace in 2059.
Yeah, they can keep that them 82 cents.
Right? They can keep that money. Right. And so, and our survey said 80% of our survey folks who did the survey agreed that there's certainly a disparity in pay. So that we were all in agreement there for the most part. But there's still 20% that don't know, right? That's another thing.
That's a whole nother thing. So I would challenge all of our listeners out there that if you are at an organization where you are making hiring decisions or pay decisions in HR and diversity, equity, inclusion, that you take a look at this one right now and start figuring out how we can correct this. Because this also happens. So I talked about the negotiation. You also see this happening when hiring people. So obviously you might have the same job, but if one person is perceived to have more experience, that person may deemed to be worth a little bit more. And that's okay. If you have a brand new person in a brand new role and you're giving them a try, their salary might be a little lower. But what we can't have happen is that every time the two candidates come up, the hiring manager perceives the man to be more qualified, have more experience, all of that, because then that's how they automatically get more pay. Where the woman is perceived as having not as much experience, they're new to the role, it's giving them a try, all of those things. So I put out a challenge to everyone watching in any position of power, because this is how we change. We can't change things if we're not all working together. And it is okay to take care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had a comment that I think is good advice. Miss Eunice Gant, she says that if you're thinking about, taking a new role, research what the men are making in that role. Ask for more. I like that, Eunice. Ask for more.
That's right.
Ask for more than that. And then you have a little room to negotiate. That's true. Like Angelique said, we don't ask, and I think some of it is like, we're glad to be in the room. But we gotta be confident in our worth and go for it. If you don't ask, you definitely won't get it. That's for sure. You ready to move on, ladies?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, we're gonna stick with the workplace with our third double standard. This is interesting. So there is a double standard that assertive women are often considered bossy, or on the flip side, women who get upset about something at work are often called emotional. And both of those, bossy and emotional, have negative connotations in the workplace. So both of you work in corporate America. Have you heard of this double standard, and has it affected your management style?
You said bossy, but I think there's another word that starts with a B.
That is usually,
it is usually used.
That is so true. Yes. I cleaned it up a little bit.
I will say I've known from the beginning that I had to make adjustments, right? And that was, again, just you knew what you had to do. And I will say there were many a times where I could have said, and it would have been right. It would have been right. It would have been a point. It would have been professional. It would have been assertive. But I chose to go in the bathroom and cry. to get my frustration out and then come back to the table and present something that was more palatable to the people at the table. It was just a part of how I grew up, what I knew I needed to do, as well as I was really conscious of not being stigmatized as the angry Black woman in the workplace. So you just do what you have to do, and had a lot of discussions and talked with other women in the workplace about, why aren't they listening to me, or why are they perceiving me this way? And having that discussion with other Black women saying, this is why we have to position it this way. Here's the word you might want to say in here. Otherwise, they're going to label you something different. And that was very strategic. Otherwise, I knew I was not going to get promoted or moved up. And it was real. Like, that's just real. It's real talk. You can ask any Black or brown woman, maybe any woman in a room, any room that is probably mostly men, your leaders are, that you've had to do that. And it's just what you had to do. But that has to change, because I have seen men blow up. I've seen men curse people out. I've seen men get upset. I've seen men bang on tables, and it's okay. Oh, he got a little upset. Oh, did he? Right? I feel like I need to call HR. Right? Like, what's happening here? Right? But it's just a double standard. And as a Black woman, I was just very conscious of just not being called angry, because once you got called angry, it was done. That kind of followed you around, and it was hard to shake that off. And so many times you just go in the bathroom and cry. You go walk down the street, get you a cup of coffee, and you come back and you do it over again. So just how I knew to do it. And it does not seem to be changing. I have not noticed it.
Yeah, I've been called bossy, sort of in a joking manner, when I have managed younger associates in a law firm. And, we have this game plan, we have these deadlines, and I'm following up, and they'll be like, okay, Miss Bossy or something. And I had to address it. Like, why do you consider this bossy? Didn't you agree to this? You know what I mean? So then you're like, you can't take a joke. You know what I mean? So you can't really win for losing, but I'm like,
it's a skill in itself, man. It is a skill in itself. And I've had a lot of discussions with women I've mentored, younger women coming into the workplace, or people say, well, you put your words together so well. And I was like, man, there's some other things in my head I would want to say. But I got bills, obligations, and college tuition, right? Like, there you go. That's right. Things you have to do. And not that any of it would be unprofessional, but it is. And I just, quite honestly, I have not seen a change in it. I have not seen a difference in that area in the workplace, really.
Well, that's what I was going to say was kind of what you were saying, Robin, is, you need to, well, I approach management a little different. I think that as a manager, you have to be your authentic self. And yet you do that knowing your audience. So you do change your words. You do, I might describe a situation to both of you a very different way than I'm going to describe it or manage it at work, because I know my audience, but I'm still going to bring my authentic self. I'm still going to bring the passion. I just use my words wisely. I change my words. I make sure otherwise, because what you don't want to happen is that they don't hear your message, is that now they've so focused on whatever that they've lost the message. Because to be a effective leader, people have to want to follow you. They have to want to run through brick walls for you. So you want to make sure that you're always winning hearts and minds, and you can't win hearts and minds if they no longer have buy-in. So you want to make sure you have buy-in. And then usually, frankly, once you have buy-in, once you've built those relationships, once you're always bringing your authentic self, you get away from that, all of those negative names and negative stigmatisms, because they know you, and they know, oh, she's saying this with love. She's saying this with care. Yeah. She really cares about the organization. So you can be a lot more pointed in your conversation if you've built the relationship. You can't come in there day one like this is this. But by 301,
that's right.
You can be like, right.
No, you cannot do that.
But once you've built those relationships, day 301, now you don't say it crazy, but you can be very pointed with very, very direct
things.
That's right. And okay.
Yeah. I've also had on the flip side where I found that my brown people have said to me, well, so that I was not being authentic, though I was not Black enough. I've actually, people have said that. Like, you're the white, you're the white Black girl. And I would be like, I am, because I'm good and Black. I think they think I'm Black when I'm in there. So I don't.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't get it. I was like, I don't get it, but it happens.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to move on to double standard number 4. This is an interesting twist too. It's about having children. Once men and women become a certain age, men are asked if they want kids, and women are asked when you're going to have kids. So there is this, perception that all women want to have children, and if they aren't having children, then they're not living up to their full purpose. So, what do you ladies think about that? Like, what do you think about women who don't have kids or don't want to have kids? Do you think a certain way? Think that maybe she really wanted kids and didn't have the opportunity, and she's just saying she's happy with it, or
I think you never know where somebody's coming from. I had a friend who didn't have kids, and she said it was like it was a thing. It was a thing that people always asked her, always talked about, always was the subject. And then they would even get deeper and be like, "Well, why did you have kids? You don't want kids? Where are your kids? Who gets these kids?" And she like, "I just don't want kids."
But they don't want her to be a floozy and a slut though either, right? Like that.
Right.
She can't sleep around. You have multiple partners, right? Like.
So I do think there is that double standard, but I think you also hear people asking men about kids too. Like if you, especially when you hear people dating as they're older, people will say, "Oh, you don't have any kids? What was wrong with you?" Because I think there's also the double standard of the expectation that men are dropping kids everywhere. So I do think that it's that double standard has multifacets.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, you're thinking they can't. If a man doesn't have kids by a certain age, you're thinking he just can't have them.
What's wrong with him? Or why didn't nobody want to have kids with you?
Right.
That's true. Because that standard is very low. It seems to be.
Well, and I think they place so much value, and I just learned this as my kids were getting older, and the value they would place on your life if you didn't have kids, right? Like you have no value if you did not have any kids. Like what are you doing with yourself if you did not have any kids? And I always thought that was interesting. Now I was one to have kids really young. And so I did not get the question. But now when I hear people say it, and you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what dating is like. You don't know if they found the right person. People don't want to have just a kid with just anybody or just date anybody, that sort of thing. So then it comes off at that point. It's rude, right? Like they get to do whatever they want to do. Why are you asking if they didn't have kids? It's rude. It's like asking about your money on your job, that sort of thing. It can be really rude. And it's one of those things. What did I say a couple of weeks ago? Like, mind your business ministry. It's not your business. Yeah. They might have 10 kids at home. It's not your business.
That is so true.
And it's okay. And it's okay. It's really okay. It's their own thing, right?
Let me read you some of these statistics that sort of don't live up to this double standard. The reality, is different than the double standard. Okay. So a Gallup poll found out that 5% of adults don't want to have kids. And it is statistically impossible for that 5% to be all men. So there are women who don't have kids, and it's because they don't want to, like Angela.
Yeah.
There was a survey on Match.com. Male respondents were more likely to say that they wanted to have children. And that is in the age group of 21 to 34, 51% of men and 40% of women, 46% of women said they want to have kids. So it's not always true that, women want them and men don't. In fact, this survey sort of says the opposite. So did we ask the question in our survey? What did people say?
You know what? That was one of the questions that was not in the survey. So
okay.
That was the only one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to double standard number 5. Okay. So men are disproportionately praised for taking care of their children, whereas women, are supposed to be caregivers. I mean, this right here is from a Instagram account that's totally devoted to men taking care of their children.
Yeah.
People love these posts. Now,
taking care of their own kids. You're talking about taking care of their own kids.
Babysitting their own kids. Yeah.
Babysitting your own kid. Okay.
So I wore one of those little carriers. That you saw. I don't recall a single soul telling me, "Wow, I was a great mom. I was doing." I mean,
Right.
come on, he is carrying his kid doing errands. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
but you see that all the time. There was a Super Bowl ad a few years back where some of the football players were combing their daughter's hair. It went
I remember that.
viral. Yes, it went viral. You know, and they can do a little messy ponytail, and it's the cutest thing. But let me put a little messy ponytail on my daughter. They'll be like, "What is wrong with her?
What's
She is
wrong with her?
I was busy."
Right.
I experienced this one a lot when, so everybody knows I've talked about my two wonderful little girls, but so when my girls were younger, when they were little, like toddlers, my husband would do a lot of things with them, but it had nothing to do with more than we worked different shifts. So I went to work in the morning and he worked second shift. So he didn't have to go to work till 3 or 4. And remember, toddler activities are all in the day. So he would take them to preschool, take them to the little music together class, take them to stuff, do their hair. And everybody would be like, "Oh, your husband's so nice. He takes care of the kids. Oh, your husband." And they would look at me like I was a bad mom. They'd be like, "Oh," somebody said to me at Girl Scouts, "Oh, are you so-and-so's mom? I've never seen you." As if I didn't, then they'd be like, we only see your husband. We only, and it was definitely multiple times I got shade as if I was
you.
And it was just simply by the nature of he worked second shift. So he did the morning activities. I did the night activities. But when they were in night activities, no one was saying, "Oh, Angelique, you're a great mom. You're taking them to class."
Right. No one.
For those bubble classes.
Yeah. It's just one of those expectations that are part of like American culture. The mother takes care of absolutely everything. Yeah. Like literally everything. They got to take you to everything. They got to take you to school. They got to take you to every play date. They got to cook dinner, clean that. Like that is just the standard. And then the men doing it, it's still to people, which is interesting to me even now. I would say now, more interesting now, because men have been out there doing stuff. Like they've been out there doing stuff. So it's not abnormal to see a man with a kid, but people still are in awe of it. Oh, you watching the kids? You watch the kids? Well, it's your kid. Yeah. What do you mean? I'm not watching them. We all live here, right? Like this is my actual kid. Yeah. So it is interesting that people still say that, knowing that women work more, knowing that women have multiple degrees, are highly educated at this point, are moving up the corporate ladder. So they're working, they're doing other things, and that people still don't see the balance.
And we have to change that expectation because it's important for kids to have the mom and the dad involved in all kind of ways.
That's right.
My husband is an amazing dad, and he's gone to more gymnastics meets and dance contests and been in dance things with the kid. But we should expect that. We shouldn't make that you've done something extra. That should be just a basic expectation, a parental expectation.
Right. That's right. Like it's just a parent. It is interesting that is still a thing.
Yeah, our standards are so low for the fathers, like carrying the baby in the baby carrier on the way home from somewhere. That is a huge deal. I mean, so you're right. We have to change that. And it's so funny, Angelique, something that you said about your husband and how people thought you were just so lucky. No one has ever, I shouldn't say no one, but I would bet that no one has ever told him that he was so lucky that you bathed and fed the kids. Nobody said, "Oh, you're lucky. Your wife bathe and feed your kids." I mean,
they were probably trying to see if he was single. Or they were like, "So are you single?"
Probably.
He can take care of his kids and my kids, right? Like,
he take care of all these kids.
Yes,
I take all these kids. Look how great he is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So do we have any survey results related to this, Robin?
Yes, we do. Here we go. We got 53% strongly agreed about the whole that standard is still out there. That is still common. Yep.
Oh, wow. So we're not making this up. We asked you, the audience, to sort of, weigh in on these double standards. And so far, you have agreed with our assessment that these double standards exist, and we need to do something about it. Okay, moving on to number 6. Okay. So this is a woman breastfeeding her baby. Perfectly natural. I mean, it's what the baby needs, and it's nothing wrong with the woman who wants to do that. People, though, get in an uproar if they need to do it in public. And I mean, these babies have to eat every hour, every 2 hours. I mean, so basically, they don't want you to leave. But on the other hand, can you show the other photo, please?
I think she was having.
Yeah, you use breasts to sell everything from tools, cars, to food. So this right here, no one would bat an eye at. But a woman feeding her child in public is, we need to do something about that. So have you guys experienced that?
I've heard a lot about it, and I know because I breastfed both of my kids for a really long time, and so I would have to do it when I was out. I always had a blanket over me or something like that, and I do know people would get a little squeamish, like, "Oh, let me go to the next room," or "Let me sit over there," and I was like, "Well, I'm not showing you my titty, right? Like I just."
I'm feeding my child.
Right? We can still have a conversation, and but I knew people felt uncomfortable when I was doing it, but it was one of those things, like you said, a kid needs to eat every 2 hours. I mean, they needed to eat every 2. What was I? Was I going to go to the room like every 2 hours and do it? Now, when they were small, it was a little different, but as they got a little older, it became a part of but people got nervous, and it was usually men, I will say. The women kind of got it and I would ask if I needed my space, but the men would get, "Oh, let me just go to the other room," because I would just do it. I wouldn't say, "Oh, everybody, I'm about to breastfeed," right? Like I would just after people didn't know you have your breastfeeding bras, you have your blanket, you think you're just holding your baby, and then once they realize it, I had this one guy would go to another room all the time. And I was like, okay, like and then sometimes you just think, man, that's silly. But I mean, people were just, I don't know, freaked out by it, I guess, or thought it was.
Yeah, I think it does make people feel uncomfortable. I was in Disney a couple of years ago, and there was a lady just walking with her breast out, kind of demonstrative, like I'm on right now. But
I think some women do that to make a point, because they're actually trying to pass laws to make it illegal for you to breastfeed your baby. So I think that some people go too far in the other direction just to make a point.
Because I will say, I was a little jarred. I was like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? I kind of was like, let me look this direction. Mickey Mouse over here.
Right. But do you feel that way when they have the women coming out for boxing with the little...
I wouldn't put anything else on. So you're right.
Yeah. Or walk around in bathing suit tops and shorts. Like it's little bitty bathing suit tops and shorts, right? Like, so it is, I think it's just...
They don't fit at all. I mean, that's a style for your...
Yeah, right. That's a style, right?
On the flip side, if women do get too naked, like if you go to Miami during the wrong time, that'll make me look crazy too. Then I'm like, whoa, because a lot of
they looking crazy at you because you got on too many clothes. I mean, that's a whole other Miami. Ocean Drive, babe, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing, right? Yeah. But I do think, right, like your breast is your private place, right? And so your private, and so I think it does. Now, having a boob out walking around is very different than nursing your child, right? Like nursing a baby. Like I have a baby here, and so I'm feeding my baby, right? I'm not walking around with my boob in my hand. Getting on, standing in line at the Disney ride. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm nursing my kid that has to eat every couple hours because it's a baby, right?
Right. Right.
People have to shift their mentality of thinking on that.
Yep.
Okay, so this discussion would not be complete if we did not discuss this double standard number 4. And this is one that is pretty harmful to women as well. So this is dealing with trigger warning, sexual assault. So if you are, we don't want to trigger anybody, just letting you know that we're getting ready to talk about women who have been sexually assaulted. Now, when that happens, very few times will the woman report it, because in any situation, it's always deemed the woman's fault, or they're going to investigate. What was she wearing? Was she drinking? How was she behaving? Was it someone that she was on a date with? I mean, there are a lot of questions that go into play if a woman is sexually assaulted that frankly don't happen with with other crimes. You know, if a woman has on a sexy outfit and had been drinking, and while she's in the bar, whatever, someone steals her car, the police aren't going to blame her for that, you know, blame what she was doing for that, but let her walk to her car and get assaulted in some way. Then if she was asking for it, or it was her fault. And this is one that, you know, this victim blaming or victim shaming, it has to stop. I mean, it has to stop. What do you ladies, do you have opinion on that?
Well, I think crime of any sorts, right? Assault to somebody's person, right? I don't care if they are naked walking around, right? Again, we've already said that's odd. That's not normal. But even if that's the case, what gives you the right to assault somebody? You don't. You don't, right? So it's a mindset of, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think that first photo of what we perceive men to be and how they have been, or how people have been allowed to act. Because at this point, we are hearing more about both sides too, but how they were allowed to act and what was acceptable. So at some point it was acceptable to be whistled at when you went by a construction site. If you weren't, right, you might not have felt cute that day, right? Like that was that was just part of our culture, right? They're looking at you, they're dating, right? That was part of it, and things have shifted. And I think that's the other thing is these minds, everybody's shifting their mind at the same time. Some people are not shifting their mind at all. And they're still doing what they want to do. So I didn't think any type of assault at any point, if somebody says no, it's them, it's their person, I mean, that's a crime, right? It should not be done. So far as people's clothes do not make you want to attack a person. What is wrong with you? You need to fix yourself, right? Her tight skirt, whether she wears it or not, that's what she had on. I have no control over her clothes. But why would you assault that person? That's terrible.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's terrible.
Or blame her if she gets assaulted.
Or blame her if she gets assaulted. It's terrible. Right? People need control of themselves, and they don't have control.
And I think we as a society should have zero tolerance of victim shaming. It is a victim. Like that's just a zero tolerance thing. If the victim, no one's made you assault someone. I don't care what they're wearing, what they're saying. They need to be able to say, wear whatever you want. That doesn't give you the right to take advantage or physically assault someone, sexually assault someone at all. Yeah. I think there's a zero tolerance of that, and that just has to stop. And I think you've seen a lot of that with the Me Too movement. Even, you know, in the last year, you've finally seen high profile cases of men who have sexually assaulted people who finally for years, but they finally have been held accountable for their actions. So I'm hoping that we as a society are taking those things more serious and stopping, because you look at these profile cases, they had so many victims throughout so many years that kept quiet. Why did they keep quiet? Because, you went to his room at night. You should have known. You didn't know what was about to go down. Well, frankly, I don't care if I did know what I thought was going to go down and then I got there and changed my mind. I have the right to change my mind. That doesn't mean that I should be decided I caused my own sexual assault. So I think there's zero tolerance for that. And hopefully I think we're seeing a shift.
Yes, hopefully. Yes.
Well, only 230 out of 1,000 sexual assaults are even reported, and fewer than that are taken to trial. And a lot of it stems from the woman not wanting to be put through the ringer, or even, drinking the Kool-Aid and believing that they did and somehow invited, or is somehow their fault. So I agree. Zero tolerance for that. I mean, absolutely. We're getting a little bit late in time, so I'm going to go through these last few pretty quickly. And we sort of covered this one. Double standard number 8. It involves the way we raise our daughters versus our sons. So we sort of talked about that, like women, society, men, they expect daughters to be chaste. If men or our teen sons are out experimenting and doing whatever, it's, dads are actually proud of that, chuckle, boys will be boys type of thing. And how, that is harmful to both men and women, teaching men that it's okay to be so cavalier about sex, and then teaching your daughters something different. But even more so than that, both of you have raised kids. Are there situations that you can think about now that you've sort of raised your daughter in a different way than your son or than son?
Robin's best for that because I've got 2 girls, so I don't know what it's like to raise a son.
Yeah,
Robin has one of each.
And a little bit older too. So we've been through kind of all the phases. I would say the one thing that was we were very honest and open in our household with both of them about everything, probably to the extent where I remember my son was like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, please don't talk about it anymore. But really talking about, being respectful of people. I will say I emphasize more for my daughter, just control. Not controlling your situation and your environment. Because I was concerned, like going off to college, going away to summer camp, things like that, and her being infiltrated, so to speak. Like I was like, I trust you, but I don't know what these other people do. I don't know who's going to raise them. So I need you to be able to protect yourself. If you see something going wrong, you call me. Tell somebody. So be very diligent and keep your eye open on that kind of thing. And for my son, because he was also older in high school as well. So he was one of those people that was 18 when everybody else was, underage. So he was at that point deemed an adult. And I would have discussions with him about dating and being around different people, right? You are 18. This can happen when you go to college. Things happen. And you are of a certain age and others are not. So I think we were really honest. I grew up with a bunch of men too. Let me just say that. I grew up with 10 uncles, grew up with women, very honest household. So I was really honest and open. And as well as I sent them to resources. So we had, I can't think of the name of it. It's out in Hinsdale, Illinois, where they teach them everything from 3rd grade. And I think you can go through 8th grade, all about sex, STDs, all of that kind of stuff, but being respectful, mindful of yourself and mindful of your body. And so the school offered that. I sent that out there, and then we would come home. They would give us talking points as parents. So we were pretty open about that. I mean, one of the running jokes was like, just don't have sex. Like, if you can't take care of a baby, can you take care of a baby? And they'd be like, no, well, then you can't have sex to have a baby, right? And I know you, right? And it was, but it had to elevate from that as well into, man, they might be having sex. So now do we have to have another discussion? Or they're going to college. They're going to be around these things. Now we have to have another discussion. So I think and those kids knew more than I knew. So let's well put it out there. Kids were doing things. Kids were doing things I didn't learn about until I was 25. Right? And I was out
younger and younger. I mean, I
was out in suburbia. Those kids were doing all kinds of stuff, right? And I didn't know about it. But then my kids, we were open enough where they would tell me, "Oh, this is what's going on. So and so's doing that kind of stuff." So honesty, the best policy. But I think I was just more fearful for my daughter because a man can be stronger. I don't care what size they are. I just thought, I just don't want you to get in a situation where they take you over and you can't do anything. So I was really concerned about just rape and that sort of
it's
stuff.
Scary. Yeah,
it's scary. And so we just had open discussions. I didn't know any other way to do it. There was no beating around the bush in my house for either side of it.
I use the same tactic with the girls. I'm really, really open and honest, and I use factual terms, and I'm open and honest with every single thing. Because and these kids today, they have social media to deal with, which is a whole nother bag of worms. So you want to make sure that they have the real deal. I'd rather you learn it from me, even if it's raw. I'd rather you learn it then you have to learn and figure it out on Snapchat or Instagram or somewhere else where I haven't been able to really teach you the message.
Yeah. And it can be uncomfortable, but you know what? It's all right. It's better.
Right. Yeah. I have a 11-year-old who, man, is so embarrassed. So I need some of them resources, Rob. We're going to have to talk.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's a really great place. It's called the Crown Center in Hinsdale. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Auntie can sit down with them. You might be more.
We can have a good conversation.
You would die. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. But you're right though. They need to hear it. And they need to hear it from someone who cares about them. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Real quickly, this next one, double standard number 9, concerns the pink tax. And it's the double standard where women have to pay more for ordinary items than men do. And I came across this firsthand at the dry cleaners. They had this sign, 3 shirts for $5. So I'm bringing my shirts in there, And she's like, oh no, this is for men's shirts. I'm like, okay, this is a button down Oxford shirt, smaller than most men's shirts. So I just do not get that. But I definitely have experienced that. And with anything that's, more feminine, colored purple or pink, you're going to pay about $2 more for that razor or something. So it is definitely a thing. Have you guys experienced that?
For sure.
10 seconds. So we got 10 seconds.
We got 10 seconds. Oh, we could probably finish our discussion in the chat and on Facebook.
Okay. Oh yeah, we can. I'll pose that question. Okay. Well, the last one we sort of touched on, double standard number 10, is teaching your daughters versus your sons how to have their own households. So, for example, my daughter has been cooking. She was 5 years old. She was cooking breakfast for her and her brother. Aiden asked me the other day how to turn on something that you didn't turn on, like the toaster. Mommy, how you turn the toaster on? He 10. I'm like, go ahead, Charlie, please. There is no button to turn on the toaster. But it just brings to mind how Charlie had to have a little stool going up and operating the microwave for different stuff, and never taught my son how to make a basic breakfast. So, but there are other things, where we sort of prepare our daughters and not our sons as much. So, oh my gosh, thank you for hanging in there with us. We had to run through these last couple of double standards really quickly, but I hope that we have discussed something that you may not have thought about before, and will get you to sort of change your mind if you come across any of these situations, to sort of think, why do I really believe this, or if this is really true. So please follow us on social media. Go to our website where you can find out information about Just for Girlfriends, and you can join the amazing organization that it's like the gift that keeps on giving all year long. And next month, Real Talk with Just for Girlfriends is going to be back, and this one is going to come with a 17 and over rating for sure. We're going to be talking about sex, everything about sex, anything you want to know about sex. We're going to be talking about it in May. So thank you. I appreciate you hanging in there. I want you guys to have an amazing day, and we'll see you next